All right, everyone. A little technical difficulties. This is Weldon Johnson of What'sRun.com reporting live from Fort Worth, Texas. But I'm the so-called face of What'sRun.com, but the brains of What'sRun.com are in Sopot, Poland. That's Robert Johnson and Steve Soprano. Steve, Robert, welcome.
Glad to be here. A little jet lagged. It is 1 in the morning here on 3 hours sleep, but we do it whatever we can to provide you unlimited free content.
Oh my God. There we go. Oops, had the same problem. All right, now no problems. Let's start over. We're live. Congratulations, everyone. We made it this far. Okay, technical difficulties are over. We're not restreaming the thing in the background. Robert, Steve, tell us a little bit about the trip over and what you guys learned today.
Well, I got here first. It was a pretty long trip. I left at 7 a.m. Mountain Time from Flagstaff, Arizona. Drove to Albuquerque. Got pulled over twice on the way, but worth it. Dedication to the job. And yeah, I got here. I think by the time I got here, it was 8 p.m. or 6 p.m. local time. And so that was about
30 hours roughly.
Yeah, about so more than 24 hours of travel. It was pretty long, but otherwise I got 10 hours sleep last night, so feeling pretty good now.
Business class, right, Steve?
Yes, business class. But one of the big things I learned about international travel, at least in the winter on a red eye, you're better off in business class than you're better off in economy than business class because you get empty seats in the back, and I stretched out in a full length of chair. So I was coached, but it was more comfortable that way.
It's amazing how I've brainwashed Steve to think that coach is better than business class. But some other athletes, he was on a plane with Cornell coach Megan Johnson and Stephen Moshe, number 2 in the shot put in the NCAA, and they both agreed.
Yeah, they both had the same thing. Got rows to themselves in their plane, so it works out for the best. You can actually sleep like it's a bed on there. It's huge.
And since we've been here today, we had the IAAF press conference. I got in about 9 a.m., went to the press conference at noon. Steve is following. Now, those of you who don't know, Steve has never been overseas before. He's following the Let's Run thread religiously on how to travel overseas. He took that sign that many people wanted him to take. He took it to the check-in booth, and they treated him like a king ever since. He has not been wearing running shoes. He almost got fired. He did wear flip-flops to the press conference because he didn't want to look like a tourist, but he didn't have any dress shoes. So other than that, it was a great press conference, a lot of insight there, but we don't have a lot of time, so let's break down the action, Weldon.
If you want to hear about the press conference, read our article on the homepage. Break it all down for you there.
We got to get up soon because by the time you guys get up in the States, we're going to have a full half day of track and field action. And day 1, Steve, is really incredible. I mean, you've got every single mid-distance and distance event, 800, 1500, 3000, 6 races.
Yep, men and women.
We're going to be busy, and hopefully by the time you guys wake up, we'll have half of it recounted for you.
It looks like, that's the kind of beauty of the World Indoors is it's all done in 3 days. There aren't a lot less events than outdoors. I mean, in the terms of long-distance track events, there's just as many as outdoors. We got before we wake up in the United States, we've got the women's 3K heats, the men's 1500 heats, and the 800-meter heats.
Yep.
And then the evening session, we've got the women's 1500 and the men's 3K. That'll be the great one. I'm not even sure where to start, so I think we should let's start shortest distance first, and a huge event is the women's 800 meters.
Indeed, I mean, U.S. fans are excited about this one. I don't think the U.S. has ever won anything at the World Indoor Championships except for a bronze medal. And we've got A.G. Wilson, the team phenom, 19 years old. She's seeded number 1. Chanel Price, the former team phenom, she's seeded number 2. In terms of 2004 season best times. So they definitely got a shot for medal, both of them, possibly gold. This thing is wide open. There's no real clear-cut favorite. I mean, I think if you ask the so-called experts, at the press conference today, they give you different names. But I know I've got my personal favorite. Steve, how do you see that race breaking down?
Well, obviously the Americans have a really good shot for the medal, but I think the winner might be Great Britain's Laura Weir. She had huge improvement in
Muir.
2013. I'm sorry, what?
Laura Muir.
Sorry, yes, Mir. Mispronounced her last name. But she had a huge 2013. I think she PR'd by 7 seconds last year. And 2014, she pretty much just started off where she ended last year, and I think she could be the favorite this year.
Wow, it sounds like Steve's been reading someone's preview. That's one of the problems when my great preview doesn't show up with my name on it. But yeah, I mean, I think that, if you look at the two Americans, they basically had a dead heat at USA's in Albuquerque. I mean, I thought Chanel Price deserved to win that race. She's not the name. She's not the world youth champion. She's not the world junior champion like A.G. Wilson. She read a very courageous run, led from the front. But basically, she and A.G. were right there together.
Yeah, 0.05 seconds.
Chanel raced Muir earlier in the season, and Muir beat her by almost a full second. So that is very impressive to me. Muir's herself is only 20 years old, so you've got a lot of young talent, in that race. Poland's got a girl, Chikova, who's run 2:01 this year. I really think that there's sort of only a couple races where I have no idea who's going to win, and I would say the women's 800 and the men's 1500 are those real two events where I can't name the gold medalists. It's just like we're going to have to see what happens. But the prelims are huge. You're going to have it's just the heat winners, and I think the next 2 or 3 fastest times. So
Next 3 fastest times.
Pretty crazy stuff.
Yeah, the big thing about the heats is for the 800, they really are crucial because someone big can go out of the heats if they don't win their heat and it's slow. We've seen that happen time and time again. Someone big just they get second in their heat. So it's going to be very important. But looking at the heats, it sets up pretty well for the Americans. Chanel Price, she's in the 3rd heat, and she's not in the heat with A.G. Wilson. She's not in the same heat as Laura Muir. So that suits her well. A.G. Wilson's she's in the 2nd heat, different heat than Muir. So the 3 big ones, different heats.
Indeed, and Price really, there's no mystery to how she likes to run. I mean, she gets out and just goes out there. But being in Heat 3, she's gonna know what the time qualifiers are. But I don't think it really matters. She's gonna run as fast as she can, and hopefully that gets her through. Only 6 to the final, remember, at the indoors. So, really the prelims, particularly, really in the 8 and the 15 are going to be crazy. And when we get to the 15, I've got some comments about that. I don't really like the way the IAAF is doing that. But what do you think, Weldon?
One thing you said made me pause. You said that Chanel Price deserved to win the 800 at USA Indoors. They don't give you bonus points or bonus time for leading. A.G. Wilson was the first one across the line, so that's why she's the champion. And quickly before we turn to some of the other events, there's a thread right now on the boards. A.G. Wilson, let's run. What do you have against her? And it's talking about some of the homepage coverage and also some of the message boards coverage and how just A.G. doesn't get nearly the press that Mary Kane does. You guys have any comments on that?
Indeed, actually, Steve and I were talking about that tonight. Yeah. First of all, I've been trying to give A.G. her due, been pumping it up. I was the one that noticed they were number 1 and number 2 in the world in Albuquerque. I've really been promoting that. World Youth, World Junior Champion. I've been sort of putting it in there that she finished higher at Worlds last year than than the other team, Phenom Mary Kane. But Steve, Steve's been on the side of some of these meets, and I think part of it is twofold. One, Wilson has never won a U.S. championship as a senior, as a pro. Mary Kane has won 2 of those. I guess Wilson's won 1. Yeah. But Mary Kane won last year. She won an outdoor. I guess she won an indoor and was 2nd outdoor. But Mary Kane was winning the USA's last year, so that got her ahead. World Youth and World Junior, that's really nice, but that's not normally getting the publicity. It's certainly going to get a lot of publicity this year being in Eugene, but normally you win that. It's something nobody watched, not quite as big a deal. And, whether we like to admit it or not, Kane is a media star. She's very good in the interviews. She's got a little bit of charisma. Wilson's pretty reticent, doesn't say a whole lot. Steve, you interacted with her in Albuquerque. She likes to let the racing talk for herself. She's not trying to make headlines in the press, and I think that does affect sort of, the impact, people her following a little bit.
Yeah, like it or not, the way you conduct yourself in the interview is what you say. It's going to be a big as far as how much of a following you get. Nick Simmons, he likes to make waves in the media, and he's one of the biggest names in the sport because of it. Definitely got the social marketing or the self-marketing down. Wilson, she likes to do let her legs do the talking, which is fine. It's very respectable, but you're not going to get as much attention from the media necessarily.
The other thing I would say to those people who think they're trying to find something sinister in it, and they're going to say, oh, it's racist or something like that. It's very simple to me. One, the 1500 is more of a marquee event than the 800. I would say it's a little bit the mile. Bring back the mile, you guys. It's just a slightly higher profile event. And secondly, let's think about it this way. Who was the top miler in the United States last year? Mary Kane. Who was the top 800 meter runner in the United States? It certainly wasn't A.G. Wilson. Brenda Martinez, and Alicia Montano.
Yeah.
So A.G.'s only number 3. And this really is track and field. They've always said it. It's a winner-take-all society. And the guy in lane 1 was seeing Bolt's making millions. The guy in lane 8, he's barely paying rent.
Oh, there goes our banner.
And there goes the banner in the background, folks. We thought that might happen with the technical delays, and there it goes completely. So no Let's Run backdrop here in Poland. We're going to have to get some, try to get some string. Hopefully they sell that over here.
Where the hell did you find that thing anyway? I didn't even know we had a Let'sRun.com banner.
You talk about old school. You talk about blue collar. That banner was from the 2007. Was it when the USA's were last in Boulder? We were an official sponsor. We had the post-race party. I didn't know it existed either. It's been in the basement in Ithaca. It showed up when I was in Baltimore, and I said, what the hell? Might as well take that thing into Poland. You get a free check back. So here it is. We were afraid to actually tape it to the wall because we don't want to pull the paint off and lose our Airbnb. Maybe we should get Crystal Kasich to sponsor this trip. He can pay for the damages.
Yes, Let'sRun.com, staying in a apartment found via Airbnb. They are not a sponsor of this, but if they want to be, they're welcome. All right, let's turn to let's stay at the 800 and turn to the men's 800. Definitely another wide open event. I mean, the 800 is probably one of the more interesting events always at the World Championships, but there's definitely a favorite in this one. Mohamed Oman has got to be the favorite. Robert, what are your thoughts?
Without a doubt. I mean, one thing we didn't mention, this is the reigning world outdoor champion, but he's also the reigning world indoor champion. He won this title 2 years ago. He's got the #1 time in the world. In 2014, he's number 2 or number 3 all time indoors. I mean, there's nothing not to like about this guy. I think he's won 13 in a row 800s. How many is it, Steve? Do you remember?
13 or 14. He's pretty much undefeated last year.
When David Rudisha, Nigel Amos went out, this guy rose to the occasion and certainly took full advantage of it. But what a race. I mean, you basically have everybody from the outdoor final last year. I mean, it is basically an outdoor final being run, indoors. And you've got Nick Simmons. I think you've got 4 of the top 5 or 5 of the top 6 from last year. Quite a field.
Yeah, and the big thing is going to be, again, what are the Americans' chances of medaling? And in this one, obviously you got Mo Oman is the favorite, but after him, it's definitely more open. You have 2 Polish runners, hometown favorites, ran very well this year. Both of them ran under 145, I believe. They are Robert, do you want to help me on the names? Adam Kiskot. Am I pronouncing that correctly?
I don't know how to say it, but he's quite good.
And Marcin Lewandowski. Like I said, both of them ran very fast this year, 145 point. And they're going to have the hometown behind them. That's definitely going to give them some excitement, some edge.
Yeah, I mean, this is one of the events that's got me most excited. I mean, you think about it, Andrew Asagi, he's an Olympic finalist. He's run 145.22 this year. That puts him in the top 20 all time. And yet, he's not even expected to get a medal. This is really historically good for indoor 800 running. And it's going to be exciting with the hometown crowd. I mean, the Poles have got to be excited about that. Both of those guys have a shot at medaling. Lewandowski's been a World Championship finalist 3 times. So, it's hard, to talk about that. But one thing, one guy I think is not getting enough publicity, we haven't even mentioned his name, U.S. champion Eric Sawinski. He's been on fire, at least in America, and he crushed Nick Simmons at USA's. Remember, Nick was only 3rd. Now, Nick was underneath the weather, but, one thing, that it's so hard in the 800 here is, again, it's going to be 3 heats, winners, and 3 move on. And Sawinski, in my mind, has gotten a bad heat. I mean, there's just no way to beat around that. What do you not want to be? Whose heat do you not want to be in? You don't want to be in Amon's heat.
Yep.
So, Sawinski's going to have to get out and try to run fast and get in on time because you don't think he's going to win that heat. And that's going to be tough. But if he gets in the final, once you're in the final, everybody in that final, 6 people, I mean, they've got a shot, at a medal, in my opinion.
Yeah, the big thing for him is going to be getting into the final. And unfortunately, it's also the first heat, so he can't even see what the other runners run for time. They're going to be able to see how fast he runs, and they're going to know exactly how fast they need to run to beat him. So that's going to be really tough for him. As far as Nick Symmonds goes, if this was Nick Symmonds from 2013, I would think, all right, this guy's definitely going to medal. He's going to be right behind Mo Amon. But Nick Symmonds has not been on fire this year. He came down from altitude. He trained in Mexico with Leo Manzano. First race, I think it was 147 something. He was a little flat, he said, coming down from altitude. He said he felt okay, but it was on a flat track. So we were hoping to see a faster time for him moving forward. But then he ran that 4x8 where, his team got well behind in the beginning with a poor first leg. And, he really just, had no one to race with. I think he ran like 149. So, just 2 not great races. And he went to USA's. What?
Got sick.
Yeah, he was under the weather at USA. So, kind of another, he ran well. He made the team. But he got third.
I wouldn't say he ran well, Steve. I mean, that's his worst This is how good Nick Symmonds is. That's his worst USA finish ever, third. And that's at a USA indoor meet, so you expect him to do higher. When I talked to him at Millrose, he was very optimistic. He thought he just needed another race or 2. He didn't get that hard effort at the New Balance Indoor Grand Prix that he wanted. But then he's sick, so he just quite hasn't got. Weldon, I think you pointed this out to us a little bit before off camera. Seems like he's a little snake bit. Was it 2 or 4 years ago he ran World Indoors and got DQ'd after running one of the best times in the first round?
I just knew he got DQ'd for the, running across the line in the first turn. I don't even remember how he finished up in the race, but I think he probably did run well. Weird stuff happens at World Indoors. I mean, Michael Rutt made the final 2 years ago. Symmonds gets DQ'd 4 years ago. It's just indoor racing's different. It's great for the fans, and with I think it's Adam Scott and Lewandowski. I read today, you guys weren't at the press conference. They had 11,000 fans at the Polish Championships. I mean, that's crazy.
I thought that was very impressive too. Definitely a lot more than there were in Albuquerque. You can say that much.
I mean, so they're going to have at least 11,000 every night at the World Championships, and they'll be going crazy. I could tell last time going to World Cross Country where there really isn't a Polish championship. They really want to root on their own, and they've got some very good runners this year.
Yeah, but the way they explained it at the press conference, I mean, there's the morning session, the evening session. They're really going for the evening session. They really think that the Sunday evening session is definitely going to be a sellout for sure. And you're right, crazy things happen. I mean, we talked about the women's 800 and all those bronze medals the U.S. have won in history. Remember, 2 years ago, Erica Moore won a bronze. So, she's not exactly the most credentialed American professional runner. So if you're on top of your game and you run a smart tactical race, you can leave with some hardware.
Yeah, it's all about, just like we said, making the final. Because once you're in the final, half the field in the final gets a medal. So you just got to make it there. And in the 800, it's very difficult. A lot of it's about what heat you're in and how your heats run. But I still think, again, I don't want to discount Nick Symmonds. He's a world silver medalist. He clearly knows how to race. It's just going to be how much, it's been 2 weeks since USA's, how much has he been able to get healthy and sharpen up for this race.
Yeah, but I don't even see, I mean, even if he improved a time, he would have to be a second better than Sawinski to have a chance at a medal. I mean, Sawinski has raced a lot of these guys in Moscow and Europe, and it wasn't even close. He was more than a second behind. So that doesn't bode well for the Americans. It's exciting, though, and it's good to see Sawinski here on a U.S. team. We can keep our fingers crossed, but it's a tough battle.
All right, we got about 20 more minutes. We got 4 more events to cover, so we need to keep moving.
Yep.
But before we do that, we need to cover the situation in the Ukraine. True or false? Poland does border the Ukraine.
It does.
That's true. On our eastern border, we're actually in the eastern part of Poland. This is very important. I want to give you guys a little history lesson. All of this for free. Go to Wikipedia, trusted source, and look up the word exclave. Because on the eastern part of Poland, you've got Ukraine kind of down there a little bit in the south, and then above it is like Albania or Lithuania or maybe both of them. But above that is an exclave. And if you say, what the hell is an exclave, don't feel too bad. Olympic expert writer Alan Aberson didn't even know. Well, he kind of knew. An exclave, it's part of Russia. So you got Russia here, and then it's surrounded completely by Poland, Albania, Lithuania. There's no border, and they just have to leap over and go back to Russia. Russia wanted to keep the port. It's pretty interesting. But, you know, the Ukrainian pentathlon world record holder who won the gold here 2 years ago, she's now retired. She was at the press conference today. She was in good spirits. She really thanked the United States and Europe, and even particularly Poland, she said, for having their back. Sounds like she's on the Western faction. She sort of supports the European side of Ukraine. She did not think that the controversy there would affect the athletes, so that they would be focused and be able to perform to their best. So hopefully we don't get stuck here and get caught up in this. The one thing she did reiterate is she said she knew no one in the country that wanted to go to war or have a lot of bloodshed. So let's hope that's the case, because you know, we're not too far away.
All right, let's keep this moving. You know, turning to the women's 1500. You know, I think we're going to wrap up with the men's 3K, which is the premier event for distance dance. We'll save that for last, and we've got a cool Bernard Lagat video highlight from our partner Universal Sports, who's got the broadcast this year, and so it'll be online and on Universal Sports TV. So check out letsrun.com for the latest listings. But the turning to the women's 1500, you know, Aviva Arigawe of Sweden via Ethiopia, she's clearly the favorite. She's run the #2 time ever this year. She's, you know, run 7 seconds faster than anyone else in the field this year. She's going to win. There's no way around it. We're not even going to waste time talking about it unless she falls down or has been injured the last couple of weeks. When you're that more dominant than everybody else, you're going to win. But after that, it's wide open.
And remember, I mean, I think it was 2 years ago, Ginzebe Dibaba, or it might have been 4 years ago when Kalkinen, one of them, the gold medalist in one of those years, fell down in the prelim. He got up and still made the final. So you're right about that. She's going to win the gold for sure.
Yeah, that is crazy. The fall, I think it was 4 years ago, got up and still made the final. But, you know, U.S. hopes are led by Trinier Moser. She's been kind of overshadowed by Mary Kane, and late Mary Kane's training partner. But she's got a good shot. I mean, she's now, what, 33 years old, and she's, you know, gotten better with age the last 2 years. Huge transformation since going to work with Alberto Salazar, and she's definitely in the thick of things.
Yeah, she's #2 in the world this year.
If you convert that altitude time.
It's converted from her, I think it was 407, 409 in altitude. And, you know, she's been, you know, Kane's clearly beat her all year, but Moser's kind of ran some tough races where she, you know, kind of went for it early and, you know, tried to make a long run for it. So I think some of those races, you know, made it indicate what she can do in a tactical race. And, you know, without Kane here, it's a shame that Mary Kane couldn't beat her, because we'd love to see her. She was kind of a lock for the silver medal. But I think Moser definitely, you know, has got to be the favorite for a second.
Yeah, I wouldn't
in case you don't follow the sport,
Kane was the favorite for the silver. It's I mean, this is an exciting race. I'm excited to see Moser or maybe Heather Camp. I mean, good for her to be on the team. She's got good wheels. You never know. But this race could have been so special. I mean, imagine. I really think. And Ginzebe Dibaba today, she was running the 3,000, the world record holder. Remember, she won this event 2 years ago. Largest margin of victory ever, 2 full seconds. She said she wanted to double. She said then when she realized that the 2 events were the same day, she had to pick one. I still don't buy that. They're 8 hours apart. She could have doubled. Imagine how special this race would have been if you had Dibaba versus Aragawa up front for gold and silver. I mean, epic clash. And then you had, you know, Kane hoping to steal that 3rd medal or possibly pick up a silver if the top 2 destroy each other in an epic battle. So it could have been so much more, but it's still pretty exciting, you know, race, you know, to contemplate.
Yeah, in case, you know, if you don't follow the sport too closely, Mary Kane, high school phenom, had just a minor calf injury, and Alberto Salazar, her coach, former, you know, marathon great, wanted to play it safe and have her withdraw. And there's no other major championships this year at first glance, but then you remember Kane's 17 in the World Junior Championships are in Eugene, Oregon this year, and Kane's a Nike athlete. It's going to be a huge deal for all Americans, especially for Nike and all of that. So, you know, I see the logic of her not racing here.
Yeah, I think he said, had a quote that said, like, if this was the Olympics, you know, she'd probably race, but since it's just the World Indoors, He didn't want to risk it. I think he said she was too precious to risk injury. And I understand that definitely, especially with World Juniors this year. But I don't necessarily agree, just because you don't know what's going to happen in the future. Hopefully she has a long career. Runs until she's in her 30s, and maybe she'll be like Bernardo Lagat until he's 39. But your career could end next year. You have a career ending injury, or just some people just don't improve. You hit a plateau.
Particularly on the women's side. I mean, where's Calcutta Geza Heng? She was the world. She won as a teenager, I think 4 years ago, and hasn't broken 403 since. I mean, I'm not saying that's going to happen to Mary Kane, but you don't know. You don't get that many chances. It really reminds me, and I said this in the preview, of sort of the Washington Nationals sitting out Steven Strasburg for the playoffs. I mean, it's sort of unprecedented to skip a global championship. I know it's only indoors. It makes sense in this day and age. People do things differently, but there is no MRI. The MRI scan supposedly was clean. But I totally understand it. Particularly being a Nike athlete, the World Juniors are going to be bigger because they're in Eugene than elsewhere.
In general, I just think in general, I see a lot of this young athletes sitting out senior championships, or even questioning. I think just if you have the chance to compete, if you have a chance to be an Olympian, if you have a chance to go win a senior medal, you got to take it while you have it, because you don't know what's going to happen.
And that's one of the things I think people talk about growing the sport. The problem with the track and field being popular is people can just pick and choose what events they think is important, or what events they think, everyone's going to go to the Global Outdoor Championships, but other than that, you want to go to the Commonwealth Games. For some people, that's the end-all and be-all this year. For others, they don't care. World Juniors, same thing. World Indoor, same thing. Very hard, to market that, when sort of people skip everything but one key event. But we better move on to the men's 1500. We don't have a lot of time. And the men's 1500, I mean, I do not know how to break this race down. I said that really there was two events. I had no idea what was going to happen. And this is, the women's 8 and the men's 15. I mean, there's no way to predict the gold medalists in this race. It's
pretty much wide open.
Pretty much absurd, really. I mean, Steve, who do you like in this one?
Well, I am a big Nick Willis fan, and I saw him race earlier this year. It wasn't exactly what I was expecting, given I know he had some quotes about how he's had some of the best training of his life, and I'm kind of hoping that maybe he wasn't ready to go then. The racing hadn't caught up with the training. But I think, he's looked good, and I think, he's ran fast this year. I think he, could definitely be, he's a Olympic silver medalist. He could be up there for a medal, for sure. You have Silas Kiplagat. I think he's a world silver medalist. He's kind of had a downtrending year, so we're not sure. You never know what you're going to get out of him.
I mean, yeah, the Kenyans have been all over the place, up and down. Well, who do you like?
I mean, it's hard to discount the talent of Silas Kiplagat, Kenya, world outdoor silver medalist, but indoor running is very different. Kiplagat's been all over the place this year. So I think, if I have to pick a guy, I'm going to go with the younger guy, Suleiman. He's been great at 800 and 1500 the last 2 years, Djibouti. And, the defending champion, Iguadir of Morocco, he's, by winning 2 years ago, he shows he's tremendous at running indoors and championship races. And with the indoor oval, with each lap only being 200, the races are just so different. I mean, with a lap to go, it's really just the last turn outdoors, and I think there's something to be said about someone who's done it in the past. So, that's who I like, but it really is wide open. It makes it almost more interesting to watch because everyone in the final is going to think they've got a chance.
Indeed, and one thing that people really need to pay attention to is there's 3 heats. They're only taking 9 to the final. They're taking the top 2 in each heat and the next 3 times. And I don't like that at all. I've never thought that the 1500 is a timed event. It's a very tactical event. I've always thought, and normally the IAAF does this much better than the NCAA. They take as many auto qualifiers as possible. The way the heats are, there's 7 in the first heat, 8 in the second heat, and 8 in the third heat. There's only 23 runners. A couple of those runners are totally unqualified. They've run like over 4 minutes or over 350 for 1500. I mean, they're not good runners. 23 people. I honestly would have done 2 heats, 12 and 11. It's a little bit much for an indoor track, and maybe taking the top 4 and the next 1 fastest time. Or if you're going to do 3 heats, I might have just, you can't do top 3. I would have done 2 heats, honestly. It just doesn't.
Why can't you just do top 3? That makes perfect sense to me. I'm sure there's rules against it. You have to have at least 1 time qualifier, but just forget about that. Do top 3. Works perfectly.
And you want to talk about the group of death. The heat sheets, I don't know when they came out. I only saw them when I got here today. Heat 2 is the group of death. I mean, look at this. Okay, who are the two biggest gold medalist favorites based on what they've done outdoors recently? It's got to be Silas Kippagat, 2011 World Series, and Suleiman. Last year, bronze medalist, looked fantastic all year. I mean, these guys have run 330 and 329. They're the favorites. They're in that heat. Who also is in that heat? Nick Willis. And Nick doesn't like to push the pace up front. Nate Brannon just set a Canadian record at 2,000. I mean, he's running out of his mind. I wonder if those guys, training partners, Ron Werhurst, are they going to, former Michigan teammates, are they going to work together? I think Brandon's got to realize there's no way he's going to outkick those three guys to get in the top two. So they've got to set the pace. Chris O'Hare, maybe all these guys that have come to college in America, they get in there and they got to set it. I mean, that heat is absurd. It just is absolutely absurd. And then heat 3, you got Will Lear, fantastic, Wanamaker mile champion. It's good for him to be in that heat. So many guys, I think, so many fans of the sport have been rooting for Will Lear. It seems like he's always fourth at outdoor championships. To see him on this team, to see him placed in the third heat, that's where you want to be. He's got no excuses. He's never been running better. That Wanamaker mile time was equivalent to an outdoor PR for him. So that is going to be an exceptional, exciting, totally wide open race. It's really going to be unbelievable. One thing that we forgot to mention about the women's 1500. Guess who's coming back? Remember that girl from Turkey that got the silver medal?
Yep.
I know a lot of people are very suspicious about that. But to me, she's so young. If she comes back and has a good, long career and is really at the top, hey, it's gonna quiet my doubts, that's for sure. But I'm going to be paying close attention to her, to Miss Bulat.
Gamze Bulat of Turkey, silver medalist, and the gold medalist got top in drag, so that should be interesting. If you're just joining us, I'm Weldon Johnson of Let'sRun.com. I'm in Texas, and that's Robert and Steve. They're not in a laundry room, as some people are wondering. That is the Polish Dhaka they're in. The Let'sRun.com banner has fallen down, and they didn't bring headphones. So, continuing on, let's move on real quickly to women's 3,000 meters.
Just before we move off the men's 1500, I think we should at least mention Lopez Lemong. He did beat Will Lear at U.S. Championships, doubling back from the 3K at altitude. So clearly he's fit. I think he has to be mentioned. If we're mentioning Will Lear, we got to talk about Lopez Lemong, and he could be in the mix. It's his heat is not terrible, so he should be able to make it to the final. And I think once he's in there, we can see
and that rate, the final is going to be exceptional. We were actually on Let's Run today looking back at our coverage from 4 years ago to see how he did it. And the Universal Sports commentators, who quite honestly 4 years ago weren't the best, they called that, what an incredible race. There was 6 or 7 lead changes in the last 800. It was unbelievable. It was exciting. And Ecuador was silver in that race, gold 2 years ago. You can't discount him. It is really going to be something to watch.
Definitely looking forward to it.
Another race that'll, the heats tomorrow, the women's 3,000 meters. Before people in America are up, they'll be done. But the huge favorite is Genzebe Dibaba of Ethiopia. She set 3 world records this year at 1,500, 2 mile and 3,000. Absolutely destroying the world records.
Right. And the big development today was at the press conference. She was one of the featured stars. And actually, we asked a question that got a chuckle in the press room. There's a $50,000 bonus if you set a world record here. So we asked her. Ashton Eaton was there as well. Sally Pearson said she might go for that world record. But we asked Genzebe and Ashton, hey, because Ashton got the world record 2 years ago in the men's multi. We said, hey, Genzebe, you're going to go for that record, the $50,000 bonus, and you wish you didn't break the old record by 7 seconds. If she'd only run 8:22 instead of 8:16, it'd be a lot easier. But she said she's not here to win the gold, and she doesn't regret smashing it. She said that her goal when she runs is to test her limits. I mean, it's sort of Prefontaine-esque, really. It was sort of a good feeling to realize that, I honestly, I'm feeling chills right now as I describe this. Everybody runs to see how good they can be. And, she showed a lot of promise as a junior. Former world junior champion. Her sister's obviously one of the greatest runners ever. She won this indoor 1,500 2 years ago, but really had not been living up to it, on the senior circuit until recently. Now she's just on fire. And she said once she did not expect, this is what she said at the press conference today, she said she knew her training was going fantastic, but she did not expect, obviously, to break the world record in her first race of the year. But she said once she did do that, she expected to break the 3,000 record. She said all of her training was geared towards the 3,000, so that was not a surprise to her.
Yeah, no, I mean, there's just really no reason to talk about even, if she's going to win this race.
Steve, not so fast. I mean, Helen Obiri, she's run 8:29. She's the defending champion of Kenya. I mean, crazier things have happened, haven't they?
And Dibaba, she has a history of not necessarily showing up well at global championships. She usually runs very well indoor and then not so well outdoor, but this is an indoor championship.
That's true. The good thing for Dibaba is, each of the last 2 years she's run 357 and 1,500 and been nowhere to be seen at Worlds or the Olympics. But, she's been on fire the first month of the season. Well, basically, this is still the first month or second month of the season. So it would be hard to screw that up this quickly. She didn't mention any injury, so it would be shocking if she didn't win. It would also be pretty shocking to me if Obiri doesn't get second. And then for third, we can hope for Gabby Grunewald. She's here, thankfully, because Jordan Desai did the right thing. And that big controversy, we don't really have time to get in that. Gabrielle Grunewald, good wheels. Shannon Roberry, 8:31. I mean, that's one of the better PRs in the field. 4 flat. If she was on top of her game, Shannon would have a chance for a bronze, but she just hasn't been running that well. We can hope that, they both get in the final. See you tomorrow. By the time you guys wake up, we'll see if they're in the final. And then later in the week, we hope to have one of these shows every night. We can break down the American chances. If they look good tomorrow, we'll tell you they've got a shot for that third final medal. But it's going to be tough. I mean, you've got, Ethiopia that's run 14:25. I mean, that's splitting 8:40 and keeping, 8:30 something and keeping going.
And I mean, I think we shouldn't forget Helen Obiri, but she's got a lot of, it's a full plate trying to beat Dibaba, but she was tremendous last time. She's run 8:29 this year. Let's move on, though. We got a couple minutes here. We say we want to finish by 6:30. To the big event of the weekend in the distances, the men's 3,000 meters, and the other big thing about it also is tomorrow is that the prelims are at 2:25 Eastern p.m. So actually, people in America can actually watch them live and kind of get excited about them. But it's the big event on paper. Robert, break it down a bit.
Yeah, I mean, they're going to take the top 4 and the next 4. I'd rather them do 5 and 2, but it is the big event. I mean, how do you break down this field? I mean, where to begin, Steve? I mean, it's just exceptional, quite honest. I mean, you've got the Ethiopians, Gebrselassie and Gebrselassie. I mean, in my mind, besides Mo Farah, they've really been the top 2 guys on the track in the 5,000 event over the last couple of years.
Both World Silver medalists or World Olympic silver medalists.
Yeah, one in 2012, one in 2013 behind Farah. So, I mean, you would think that one of them would be the favorite based on that. You've got Caleb Nduki, though, of Kenya. I mean, this guy's run 3:29 for 1,500. He's a former world junior champion in the 15 and in cross country. Now, that's I always say the world junior cross country champion. I mean, Sammy Wanjiru, Asbel Kiprop, the guy that wins, Kenenisa Bekele, Gebrselassie. I think all those guys won the junior championship. The guy that wins the world junior cross country championship is normally a superstar. So, he's been on fire. He's undefeated for 3,000. He destroyed Bernard Lagat by 2 seconds this year. And then you got Lagat. I mean, the guy's 39 years old. He sets an American record in the 2,000. He goes to USA's, and he's not facing exactly chump change. He's facing Galen Rupp. What has he done? Olympic silver. He's facing Ryan Hill, 7:37 or 5, whatever he's run.
Yeah. And
he destroyed those guys. It might not have looked like it because people were getting lapped. They were running so fast. But 2+ seconds on over 200 meters, this guy is in top form. I think those 4, Nduki, Lagat, Gebrselassie, and Gebrselassie. How in the hell do you pick between those 4? One of those guys is not going to medal. You might as well just pick it out of a hat. In fact, Steve, this is a secret thing. We don't have a lot of time. I do have a hat here. I put in all 4 names of the 4 big names. I have a little problem here. Some stuff's pulling down off the wall here. Wait, how do we want to do this, Weldon? I think we want to build the drama. We don't want to just pick the winner out. I think we should pick 4th place first out. Or do we want to do it like the octopus? The octopus always picks the winner.
Before we do that, I want to see if this video works, since we're kind of new trying this hangout, but I want to see if we can show a video from our partner Universal Sports from last time. I mean, Lagat, 39 years old. You figure he can't have much of a kick, but the 3K is his distance. It's amazing, and let's see if we can see what he did last time.
can't see anything. Nope.
So hopefully you guys could see that, but Legat, he's just been amazing the last two World Indoor 3Ks, and if you were watching that video, the guy in the back was Mo Farah, and he just absolutely destroyed him that last 200.
It's amazing to watch, and I mean that's the thing. Bernard's won 2 of these in a row. I mean, destroying Farah, pretty impressive. And I think you said it best. 3K may be his best event. I mean, this is a former phenom at 1500. The speed's not there in the 15, but his wheels. I mean, he's still got it. He's almost my freaking age, and I barely could run 13 minutes with Steve to the stadium and back today.
Yeah, I don't think we really need to talk about, he's 39 years old, but really you can't look at him as a 39-year-old. Basically just, age is not a factor with him. We keep saying Father Time's going to catch up with him. It hasn't yet. He's still setting PRs. He's still breaking records. And he's got an amazing kick, and he showed it this year. So, personally, I think the Ethiopians, they're more 5,000 guys. And, especially if it's a tactical race, my money's on the Legat over them.
That's true. I mean, Gabramesco was running the 10K outdoors last year. And he was perfectly suited. He's got a lot more experience indoors than the other two. But I think we got to predict here, Steve. And we don't have
enough time here, Robert, so I think it's time. Give us 4th place, please.
This person will not medal. Unfortunately, we don't have the Octavius picking in the World Cup games. Instead, we have Steve, employee 1.1.
Bernard Legat.
Wow.
There it is.
I guess
official.
It's true.
It's official.
These guys. He was destroyed when he raced in Europe against the top African talent. Sorry, Bernard, but Steve has spoken.
I don't think we need to pull all the other names. I think we should just leave it there. Let's leave it for the track.
No, we got to keep going.
All right, we'll keep going. Your bronze medalist.
Nduku gets the bronze of Kenya. Not a bad pick. I mean, you got a younger version. He's basically a younger version of Bernard.
I do want to say, I do think he's very much a 1,500 runner. This is the 3,000. We'll see. I still think Legat's got the edge over him.
Your silver medalist, ladies and gentlemen.
Gabramesco.
Gabramesco, I mean, he's the guy that beat Mo Farah with one shoe on, right? 3 or 4 years ago? Silver might be the right pick for him. He ran the 10,000, remember? And that means the winner, without a doubt. Hagos Gabriewat. And this makes sense to me. I mean, last year, early in the outdoor season in Doha, he was so good. We thought, is this guy that, you got Gabriel, you got Bakile, is Hagos the next Ethiopian ruler of the track? He sort of faded there in the middle, lost a bunch of races to Gabramesco, but when it mattered most, he stole that silver because that Kenyan let up at the line in Moscow. So the record book will always show him he was the silver, really, although he was really only the 3rd best guy in Moscow. But it's going to be exciting. It's going to be a hell of a day tomorrow. Hopefully we can get, we're only going to get about 7 hours sleep. We got to get it up in about 7 hours, get over the track. It starts bright and early, 10 a.m. here, 4 a.m. your time there on the East Coast. But you guys sleep in tomorrow. You're not going to miss a whole lot. Those 800 prelims. Well, maybe if you want to, set your alarm if you're a diehard, we'll recap it for you. You can watch the, the afternoon session there. Get a little bit of it live, hopefully. And it's going to be a fantastic day. I mean, we're really excited, and that's why we've come all this way. Our first World Indoor Championships, and hopefully we can have time to do one of these shows again tomorrow night.
Just testing out some sounds. All right, Robert. All right, Steve. Get a good night's sleep, and we'll see you guys tomorrow from Poland. Thank you.
Thanks for having me.